Can I just layer on top? I love what Paul said, and I think there's so much to learn in the valleys.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn because when times are really great, sales have just come to a lot of salespeople. And I think these are the times where sales professionals really rise to the top. You've heard the old expression, cream always rises to the top.
Mm.
And this is when we're really going to define, and in Selling from the Heart, I talk about this all the time, the difference between sales reps and sales professionals really occur in those valleys. That's where you're going to really see true professionals from reps. I just had to layer on what you said, Paul. Is amazing.
No, I love that. And Mike posed a great question. I'd love to get a quick answer, Larry, before we proceed. A quick example of connecting with yourself in an authentic way. I think that resonated.
Yeah, no, and thanks, Mike. I'm going to throw a couple things. Is we all have values. So when you connect to yourself, right, and I'll just speak to Mike's question on this, is we all have values. What are your values? What do you stand for? What do you live for? And I'm a big believer the relationship you have with yourself all starts with your values. I'll take this one step farther because it plays on how your authentic self sells you, and connecting to yourself is uncover your why. I'll call it your why operating system, why you do the things you do, how you do them, and what you ultimately bring. This is a great way to connect to yourself. So I'll use an example. I'll use me, if that's okay, Carson, and this will answer your question even more, Mike, is when I really connected to my why and I unpacked this, now I started to realize the things that I'd been doing forever and a day in the sales world. Is my internal why is I believe success happens when I contribute to a greater cause. That's my why. How I do this is I do this by making things clear and understandable, because ultimately what I bring are trusting relationships where other people can count on me. That's what I connect to. And I share this because we all have why. We all have a why. It's just unpacking it. But if you really wanted to, you could start there, or you could just start with just grabbing a sheet of paper and grab that sheet of paper and just start writing down what values, what do I value? What do I value in life? What do I value in my professional career? Draw a line there, and then go out and ask some of your Microsoft customers that you know really well. What words would you use to describe me? What value have I been bringing to you? And you'll really just simple things yet so difficult to execute. You'll really start uncovering a lot of this stuff.
Very profound. Great question, Mike. Thank you for throwing that out there in the chat. Paul, as you kind of alluded to, we've collectively on this panel, we've been through a lot of valleys in our sales career, which is one way of saying that we're old. But with that comes the benefit of looking back at some of these valleys and what are the learnings, right? What are the learnings in those valleys? During tough times, it's so important to double down on people and process, get back to the core fundamentals. Your odds and probability of getting a meeting might look different, and the customer priorities look different. Paul, as you mentioned, Microsoft was founded on the principle of getting a PC in every home, right? Obviously, our mission statements changed a little bit over the years, and now it's empowering everyone on the planet to do more. Relationships and resources become all the more important, and the relationships that you can create and nurture during tough times can sustain for the long haul. There's so many interesting ways that we can connect with and interact with customers right now, whether it's helping them create new lines of revenue. Microsoft right now, we're trying to help organizations do more with less. How do we unlock value from what customers already own? How do we enhance holistic investment that we can make? How do we build plans to consolidate costs, replace redundant or disparate competitive solutions? And there's so many ways that we can connect meaningfully and authentically right now, whether it's LinkedIn or leveraging video, building community around what you do, newsletters, webinars like this, and not just hitting people with a lot of random generic email. And so hopefully there's a lot of takeaways that you can all take from today's session. Larry, next question is for you. There's more drive and rigor right now around building pipeline and delivering revenue during tough times because it's harder to come by. I mean, that's the very reason. So it's very counterintuitive. How can sales leaders right now balance that need to drive revenue with the need to build those meaningful, authentic relationships with customers?
I think they both go hand in hand, Carson. And one of my favorite, I stress this all the time and I write about it in Selling from the Heart, is if salespeople and sales leaders want to have an ever flowing sales funnel, they must build an ever flowing relationship funnel. They both go hand in hand. And here's what's interesting is, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out, is if you look at your deals that are stalled right now, deals that are clogged in the pipeline for some reason, there could be various reasons behind this. I'll submit to you, it goes back to relational depth. Relational depth in the deals you have in the pipeline. So one of the things that I would ask people to look at is double down on relationships. Relationships drive revenue. And you must be doing this every single day. I understand we have to bring revenue into the company on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. But there's something else that needs to happen. And that means we have to be consistently opening new conversations. We have to consistently be building new relationships. And we have to look at the size of the organizations that we're working with. And we have to ask ourselves internally, how many key decision makers and influencers in these accounts do I know? And how many of these key decision makers and influencers know me? And this is where I believe there's opportunity for monumental growth, is not only who knows you, but what do you know about these people? What are their issues, their challenges, their initiatives, their dreams, their goals, their visions? And then multiply this out through the key executive decision makers and influencers that are sitting in these accounts. So we have to marry, and this is the struggle, I totally get it, is there's a struggle between short-term, right? There's short-term revenue. We got to bring this revenue in right now. But there's also what I call long-term sales sustainability. And you got to learn how to marry both of these together. And that means you have to be radically disciplined and radically consistent with every single day. You're opening new conversations, building upon new relationships, expanding upon existing relationships. I always say the depth and the breadth of your relationships is going to determine your sales success. If you ask any sales leader or any salesperson if relationships are important, if relationships drive sales, everyone is just going to go, yes, they're going to stand up, they're going to raise their hand. But here's my question. What are you doing to build upon, expand upon, nurture, and grow these relationships?
Paul, I'd love to get